Welcome to Fight News Now. It's John Pollock with John Ramdine and Robin Black. Lots of news to tackle today. We're going to start off with the fight that is going to get so much focus over the next couple of weeks, and that is 1-0 Mickey Gall taking on 0-0 Michael Jackson. And before we make any jokes, Twitter has just exhausted them to death. I can't possibly contribute anything at this point. However, this is what everyone expected going in. No one was expecting that Phil Brooks was going to be fighting anyone with a significant background. So backlash to this fight, which is happening on Fight Pass. I mean, this is what everyone anticipated, and it's happening. Yeah. It's two people where coming out of it, Mickey Gall is going to have 2 pro fights, and if he wins, he gets the Phil Brooks fight.
Sure. I'll believe this when I see it, because the UFC has said things over and over again that have never come to fruition, because it all comes down to the type of performance, so on and so forth. I'm not confident that
Gall wins a dull decision, and Dana has the gall to take this fight away from him.
Yeah, you know, when it was first announced, I was like, are you kidding me? A guy in his late 30s who doesn't know how to fight, but is somewhat famous, and we're going to go and follow this thing, and all of that. And then later now, but I think my thinking was motivated by the fact that I was placing him in the UFC, and how I pictured the UFC at the time was the best of the best fight here. That's no longer true on undercards, and I think that's okay.
We've evolved. Main events. Come on, let's be.
I mean, could you get up to 170?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm 170 right now.
You are a relatively well-known personality right now in the UFC.
I mean, I'm confident I could beat this guy up. I know Duke. I know how hard he trains him. And the truth is, he's only been training for a year and a half. It doesn't matter who you train with or what you do. Audience, I'm telling you, he can't be very good. It's not possible. But I don't begrudge him anymore, because the UFC is no longer only the best of the best. The undercards, the Fight Pass, it's a developmental league under the main league. In that context, good for you, man. Fighting is awesome. Fighting is exciting. Go pursue this thing. Yes, to make this happen, we have to do a bunch of this other weird stuff, like bring in a Gall and have him fight a Jackson and do all this stuff. It's just what's going to happen. Let's stop complaining about it. That he's a man who wants to pursue the martial arts, and I endorse that. I hope he has a great time, and I hope he does really well. There's just only so good. If you could become a professional football player in a year, we'd all do it. If you could become a pop star in a year, actually you could become a pop star in a year, which is why pop sucks. You can't become a legit professional fighter in a year and a half. Duke's the best coach in the game, surrounded by the best guys. That's not enough. It's just not possible.
I don't necessarily understand the thinking that this is only an opportunity for Mickey Gall. I mean, if Michael Jackson wins this fight, why wouldn't he get the fight? I mean, who cares? Yeah. If he looks spectacular, he should get the fight. I mean, we're talking about either way. The guy's coming out with under 3 professional fights, whether it's Gall or if it's Michael Jackson. I mean, you're putting them both on the same platform to be exposed. One of them comes out, they get Brooks.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, does it really matter? I mean, we're not looking for someone good. We're looking for someone who's not good, who can seem good enough to the untrained eye, who speaks well. That's what we're looking for. If Michael Jackson wins and looks really good, no, we can't have that. If he doesn't speak well and he's not an interesting guy, he's not someone who can become a star by beating somebody people know, we can't use him. We need to find a guy who's not very good, but looks good enough to confuse people and is interesting, and you know who he is. That's maybe Mickey Gall? I don't know. I'm confused by the whole thing, except for what I'm not confused about is Phil Brooks. I get it, man. Good on you, and I will stop criticizing him, because I understand why he wants to do this. But what comes, and I hope people do stop criticizing him, but part of it, Phil knew. I knew when I started at 38 years old, fighting on the lowest level, smallest shows, that they were going to make fun of me. That part of the journey of trying to become a professional fighter in your late 30s, where I came from singing in a rock band with eye makeup. This guy comes from being a pro wrestler. Part of what's going to come with that journey is learning to get over the fact that people will mock you and hate you and be angry at you. And Phil, that's okay, man. It's going to make you a better guy, make you a better fighter, make you a better martial artist, and make you a better human being.
If you're truly upset about this, I mean, we're just rehashing what happened a year ago.
Turn the channel?
Be upset at the UFC for doing it. And believe me, I'm not. I totally get why they're doing this. But for Phil Brooks, who's doing this, I mean, look at the hatred that has come Ronda Rousey's way. This guy is walking into an era where he is challenging himself at a ridiculous level, left an extremely lucrative career behind him, and faces the utmost scrutiny if he looks bad in this fight. I mean,
and he will look bad. There's no way to look good in this. If you beat a guy who's 1-0 or 2-0, you beat a bum. Even if you caught him in a submission early, we know he's not really a good jiu-jitsu guy. That's why they put him in with you. Or you get beat by a guy like that. People don't understand the sacrifice you made, how painful it was, how terrifying it was, how they could never do it. They'll judge you for the fact because they're jealous that you're doing it, Phil. So you got to be okay with it, and you got to learn from it and use it to make you a better person. I'm excited to see you get to do this thing, and I'm excited to see whatever it leads to in the world of fighting after. Good on you, Phil Brooks.
Let's move on to BJ Penn because, man, is BJ Penn and Nick Lentz going to happen in 2016, John Randy?
I would not be surprised. I know both you guys, you weren't a big fan of Nick Lentz's response. You believe he didn't even write the response to BJ.
I'm questioning the legitimacy of this letter.
But if you have a chance to go to the Underground and read this response Nick Lentz had to BJ Penn, I thought it was great. I think Nick Lentz is trying to, create some relevance. He's trying to entice BJ Penn, but he's trying to do it on his own terms. And I applaud for that because it's like, who's Nick Lentz? He's just one fighter in a sea of 155-pound guys because that's where he wants to fight now, 155 pounds. He tells BJ Penn that's where he should be fighting.
And he's right.
And he is right. BJ Penn, again, was the 170-pound champion. So who knows? BJ should be fighting at 170. But the fact is that at least he's trying something. I know you said it wasn't successful. Yeah. BJ's my guy. I love BJ Penn, and if he wants to come out of retirement, this is a perfect scenario because they can add to this.
I'm just shocked that I'm even going to analyze this. It's just so against what I'm about. But I do believe that Nick Lentz is given an opportunity by a legend to be relevant. You get it, you take it, you make the most of it. If a legend gives you that opportunity and you come back and you kind of look like a bully and you kind of make fun of them, and then you make a list of demands, you can't make a list of demands when you have no leverage. And all BJ Penn has to do is say, sorry, I made a mistake by bothering with you. You're not important. I can just start the exact same feud with anybody else and get that fight. You can't start making demands when you have no leverage.
No, but luckily for Nick Lentz, he's still employed by the UFC. Every time he fights,
he
can say, I knew BJ Penn was a chicken. That's why he has it as an
nobody gives a fundamental about Nick Lentz. No, I like Nick Lentz, I do. But the fact of the matter is, you have one moment, if you're lucky, to have a big fight, to have a fight that everybody's talking about, and he's probably screwed it up.
I want to go back to something we talked about earlier this week. I'm going to revisit this Donald Cerrone story. I don't know if I'm the only one. I'm disgusted by this. We were talking about the idea that he had this patch on his shorts. And the fact that it is now is not just a slap on the wrist fine. I mean, he's hinting that this might be in the 5 figures of a fine for an American flag that was put on his shorts. The fact that we're classifying a flag under the same category as some McDonald's logo, to me is outrageous. I think this is one of the just worst things that has happened in quite some time. I mean, am I the only one here that is just outraged by this? I applaud Donald Cerrone. The fact that he says, I would completely do this again, and I'm going to do it again when I fight Tim Means. I'm a proud American. I don't see how you can consciously possibly fine a guy over something like this.
Well, they can fine whoever they want. They're in charge. And Robin said it. If he doesn't want to adhere to those rules, they'll shelf him. And they'll keep shelving him. And I think that's a dangerous message that you're sending to your fighters because...
What is he violating with a flag? This is not helping some outside company that doesn't sponsor the UFC. If you wore another logo, like RDA, okay, I get it. He wore a shirt he shouldn't have at the weigh-ins. He broke the rules. He's subject to a fine. I have a much bigger problem when we're fining someone over having an American flag.
I get it. I get why you fine him. First of all, I don't get why the whole thing exists, but the reason I don't like it is because I came around at a time before where we could wear whatever we wanted and get paid for it. Now that is gone. Whenever something disappears, it's going to feel weird. Hey, I used to have $100 and now I have nothing. I used to have 4 sandwiches and now I've got no sandwiches. You're always going to be peeved. So that whole thing bothers me, but I get it. If you're going to enforce rules, flags are okay. Okay, now flags, everybody can go with a flag. Religious imagery, that's your freedom of your religion. We're gonna allow that. Now, well, wait a second. My religion is McDonald's. Why can't I have, there's so many different things. The Reebok thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's there because the company can make money and the company's in a position to say, take it or leave it. And they are. And there's not much you can do about it, so you kind of accept it, I guess.
And I think the fighters are confused because they had Condom Depot on their back not that long ago.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
the
confusing.
tumultuous era continues, but we are back Sunday night with a preview show, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, with the three of us breaking down the UFC Fight Night card from Boston, headlined by TJ Dillashaw and Dominic Cruz, and we'll be presenting the prelim portion here on Fight Network at 8 Eastern, headlined by Patrick Cote and Ben Saunders at 170 pounds.